The trading of land is without a doubt the most effective for countries to purchase new lands. It has been a means of business for over a decade and is one of the main reasons that countries are divided the way they are. Now there's another big trade involving farmers from Australia trading with the United Kingdom. Want to know what's to come out of the trade deal? Then keep on watching to find out. First, let's talk about Australian farmers. Despite rain in Australia being a major rarity, the country still maintains the title of one of the major producers and exporters of agricultural products. In the country of Australia, the agriculture field brings in $155 billion in the span of just 1 year. This is thanks to the 300,000 plus Australians who are employed in agriculture work, rather than agricultural work, fishing, or forestry. In fact, more than half of the land in Australia is owned by farmlands, coming in at 61%. In Australia, there are three main zones of farming. There's the sheep zone, the pastoral zone, and the Tasmania zone. The Tasmania zone is the zone that sees the most rain, with the pastoral zone seeing the least amount of rain, which means that it gets the least amount of fertile soils. The sheep zone is used for acquiring wool and things for winter. The Tasmania zone is for the production of dairy and beef products, with the pastoral zone being used primarily for grazing beef cattle and sheep for the wool. The Australian farmland has been very large for a great amount of time, but it seems to be only getting bigger. Next, let's talk a bit about trade deals. The agreement made by one country to sell another country a bit of land is known as a trade deal or trade agreement. While it's often land that's being traded, there are many other things traded off with the trade deal. Preferential trades are a type of trading that allows a country selected access to certain products from the country they're trading with. Another popular method of trading is free trade. This method of trading is one that comes with no tariffs, quotas, or trade restrictions, which are things that plague normal trade deals. There is even an intergovernmental organization around that is tasked with regulating and facilitating international trade. Founded in 1995, this organization is simply called the World Trade Organization. There are 164 members of the World Trade Organization, with 160 of them being members of the United Nations. This organization is not a cheap one, costing around 220 million US dollars and 197 million Swiss money. Where the organization was originally founded, a trade deal is relatively simple to make. It simply requires two agreeing countries to make a deal, with the free trade deals being especially simple. Now let's talk about the UK and Australia deal. A member of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Elisabeth, told a parliamentary inquiry that ratifying the agreement would acquire huge benefits for Australia. This deal is special because it is the first trade agreement with the United Kingdom since 2 years ago when they left the European Union. This deal is one that would, according to Elisabeth, bring a substantial increase of opportunities for exporters from Australia, doubling down and saying over 99% of the goods that enter the United Kingdom coming from Australia would be duty-free, upping that percentage by 10%. Bose said that the restrictive quotas and tariffs that come with trading with the United Kingdom will at first be reduced, but over time will be completely eradicated. Bose had also said that another great thing coming from the deal is the potential for the mobility of skilled workers between Australia and the United Kingdom, especially in the economic recovery that they're facing from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some people have argued against the trade deal between Australia and the United Kingdom, saying that the deal does not benefit anybody that does agricultural work in the two countries. Let's talk about some reasons people were against the trade deal. While many people in the countries of Australia and the United Kingdom think that the trade deal between the countries is a great opportunity for the people who work in agricultural jobs and those who need them, there are still people who think that things would be better off without the deal. One of the main groups speaking out against the trade deal is the National Farmers Federation. The National Farmers Federation argued that for producers of red meat, the benefits are not as great as they are for some other people. Their reasoning for this is that the Southeast Asian demand is already exceeding more than Australia can supply. In response, Andrew McDonald from Meat and Livestock Australia had said that the deal between the two countries would future-proof the trade environment. McDonald said that what they look for within the FTA is the future security of countries' open trade, and especially to let markets and consumers be the main drivers of the outcomes. According to reports from Labour Committee Chair Josh Wilson, the trade deal would add $3.9 billion to the bottom line of the country by the year 2035. While we're talking about Australia, let's discuss the cyber attack. A cyber attack is one of the scariest things that can happen to not a country, but to a person. Cyber attacks can vary from an iCloud hack to the hacking of a country's entire database. Australia recently dealt with the former. It's the second largest wireless carrier in the country, and recently the information of their customers was compromised by a breach in data security. The data breach is among some of the biggest that Australia has ever seen. Optus announced themselves that the driver's license, passport numbers, and home address of somewhere around 10 million people were breached. Those 10 million people made up almost half of the population at 40%. In response to this, Australia has said that they plan to change privacy rules, especially after Albanese called the breach a huge wake-up call. The changes in the privacy protocols would be changed in preparation for this type of thing happening again. In case there is another breach, Australia wants to make sure that banks will be aware that information for their customers is out there, so they can do what is necessary to protect their customers. Moving on, let's talk about the Indonesian farm job situation in the United Kingdom. A group of Indonesians in the United Kingdom were looking for farm work. They thought they had found their lucky break when they were offered work for just a deposit. The deposits that they had put forward had gone up to $2,500 for what they said was a guaranteed job on a farm in the United Kingdom. The Indonesians paid their deposits and have said that not a single one of them have seen a single hour of work. In fact, one of the Indonesians said that despite putting forward their money, they have not even received an interview. The method of putting down a deposit for a job is illegal, not only in Indonesia, but in the United Kingdom. These scams did not only happen to a few people, but instead it affected 170 people across 19 farms in the United Kingdom. Many of the Indonesians have said that they quit their other jobs to take on the better opportunity they thought they were going to receive. Many wonder what will happen to them now that they're unemployed and do not have a job that is set in stone. Many of them were also in the United Kingdom on visas. Finally, let's talk about some other things going on in Australia. While the Optus breaching and the United Kingdom trade deal were big news, there are also many other things of importance going on in Australia. For instance, there have been many whales washing up on the beaches of Tasmania. 230 whales washed up on the shores, but only 30 of them ended up surviving. On the other side of the news, the former officer of the ATO has been hit with over 60 criminal charges after he exposed the criminal conduct of the office. In the documents, there were schemes that showed plans to illegally extort Australians who were more vulnerable. The whistleblower first came forward 4 years ago before he was hit with the charges in 2018. While many think that what he did was the right thing and were pleased to know what could be happening to them, it still put the whistleblower in danger of losing his life as a free man. If all 66 of the charges do stick, the whistleblower could be doomed to serving over 100 years in prison. In August of 2022, the prosecutors had made an attempt to have the case suppressed. Unfortunately, it isn't looking like they will. Australia has been in the news for many things, some good, some bad. The trade deal has received generally good reception, with the exclusion of meat farmers who think that it's asking for more than can be done. Do you think the trade is a good idea? Let us know below.